There's something about the raptors in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World that stays with you. The feeling that any moment they're going to eat you alive.
Clever girl.
I couldn't resist the challenge. Could I actually recreate one of these at home in my garage?
Life, finds a way.
We were building a Jurassic World themed experience, and I knew exactly what I wanted as the centerpiece. A raptor, in containment, just like in the movies and at the parks. What you're about to see is the full story, one epic video combining what was originally 5 episodes, all the steps, all the challenges,
Making this up as I go along.
all the triumphs,
I love it when a plan comes together.
and maybe, just maybe, you'll be asking yourself if you could build one too.
The exercise of drawing a raptor starts to help you figure out kind of the shapes that you're looking for and what it is that you're trying to do. And what's quite helpful is I have this epic book, Making of Jurassic Park, and it has some really, really great imagery of raptors in relation to people. Okay, roughly done on the grid. The plan is to make the base out of this foam here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to measure out the foam and draw out the shape of the head in 2 dimensions. And then the idea is to cut it into sections, so I've got multiple pieces, and then stick those sections together in order to create the general shape. Easy.
After transferring the image to the foam grid, I then cut the foam using a hot wire cutter. This took a little bit of time, because I had to repeat the process multiple times.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the right width. So now I need to glue these together.
Which I did with some Gorilla Spray adhesive.
I'm gonna start carving this, trying to make it look more like a 3D dinosaur. I've got some reference material on my iPad. Let's give it a go.
So I grabbed my hot wire tool and started sculpting the dinosaur.
It's much later and there is a lot of mess, but we do have beginnings of a very good raptor head. I'm really pleased with it.
The process of bringing this raptor to life required a number of different techniques. Here you can see me using sanding, a small Dremel, and going back in with a hot wire tool. All the links to these tools and these techniques can be found in my downloadable at creativegeekery.com/Jurassic.
Progress has been made using all the tools I have at my disposal to get this broadly to the point that it's going to be before we put some kind of skin over the top of it. I'm going to actually have to carve out a huge area here, like a skull hole, that I can put the operational pieces inside. They've got to be made animatronic, so there's got to be space for the animatronics. Making this up as I go along.
Because this raptor is in containment, the only part of it that needs to move are the eyes. So here you can see me creating a hole for the animatronics to go inside the skull. Again, I'm doing this using a hot wire tool.
Yes! Look at that! I measured it totally right. I love it when a plan comes together. Well, hello there. Look at that. It's like the Channel Tunnel. Both sides met where they needed to. Having made space for the eyes, I've now finished my 3D printing.
For this project, I'm using this amazing 3D model from Hendrik's workshop, and I'm going to use 2 of them to create eyes on both sides.
Got these 2 holders here, the eyelids, the eyeballs, and the stalk for the eye. The stalk for this eye is already in there. And then I've got a few screws and an example servo. I did some measuring of the distance between these 2 eyebrows, I'm calling them, and discovered that these 2 here will fit back to back, here and here, in the diameter or the width of those eyes. So I've got to tap these holes, put the screws in, get it set up. What I've got to do now is I've got to design on the screen a plate for these 2 bits here, so they can sit back to back and be joined together. Happy with that. We want to make sure we're clearing all of those sections there, which we are. Yes. Yes, that works great. Look at that. This is the eyeball and iris for the original Raptors from Jurassic Park. And then this is the photo from Universal Studios. And as you can see, there's a difference in color. I am going to go with the more orange eye because I'm trying to replicate the Universal Studios vibe. And also just because I think it pops more. And I'm going to take that, put it into Photoshop, and then I need to size it correctly so I can print it exactly the right size. And then I'm going to stick a printout of this underneath this piece of glass to the 3D print. And as you can see, that is perfectly sized for this test print of these eyes that I've been doing. I have bought some glue like this, clear grip.
And then I set to work, gluing the glass to the printout.
Look at that. That is, I think, a good result. Focus, maybe it can't focus that close. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah? Okay. I have to say, that is very satisfying to see those two with eyes on them. And to see them like that. Look at that. Ah, now I just remembered something. Yeah, I have to be sure that I mount the eye in the right configuration. Vertical, like that. And we don't want it to be like that, otherwise that will not look correct. It'll look maybe like he's a bit dazed or maybe even a little bit drunk, which is not the look we're going for. I mean, maybe he was tranquilized to put him in the cage. I think those little marks are going to help me, but I've got to be really careful that I mount these right.
So having given myself a stern talking to about mounting everything in the right configuration, I proceeded with caution.
That was much harder than it needed to be. That glue, it works great. It does exactly what it needs to do. But just the whole process of pushing it down on a flat surface and leaving a thin layer and then trying to clean around the edge. Every time you try and clean around the edge, it moved the glass off the center. And so, yeah, created a bit of an issue. The only other thing that is concerning me a little bit, you look in that picture, look, it's all the same color all the way around. What I need to do is get some paints and paint this to kind of match.
So I grabbed the test eye and tried to match the paint color as best as I could.
That is not a bad color match. And when I put a little bit of black in there and carry it around, I think that's gonna work. Just gonna go for it. Just gonna do it. Let's do it.
So throwing caution to the wind, I dived right into dinosaur eye makeup.
I am pretty pleased with that. I wasn't sure when I started, but those paints matched perfectly. I'm gonna need to put a clear coat on it so that it looks shiny like the rest of the eye, but gosh, I'm happy with that. That's gonna make a huge difference when the eyes turn left and right. I've given them 3 coats. Ooh, look at that. That is now shiny all over. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna cut my register for my animatronic so it will fit in.
In order for the animatronics to sit securely in the head, I'm cutting a notch either side of the eye so I can slide the animatronic unit in and out as required. It also holds it firmly in place.
I think we have an issue. I think I did my measuring on one side of the dinosaur eye only. That piece is sticking out too far. It needs to be in line with that. And same here. So here's what I'm thinking. Either create a new 3D print or carefully cut quite a lot off. Definitely a back to the drawing board moment right now. Frustrating. All right, I've cut it down. Not massively happy about that, but we're going to put it on this plate, which is going to need to be recut. I'll give it another half an hour, and if I can't salvage it by then we'll have to design a new 3D model. Okay, I think that might work.
So with newly cut parts in hand, I attached them to a new base plate.
Here it is. Had to do a little bit of bracing at the bottom to make it work, but it's pretty much there. I'm going to put the eyes back on just to make sure.
The eyeball connects to the 3D model using this eye stalk, which would soon become more problematic than anyone imagined.
You're kidding me. Look at that. Straight away it broke. That was a new one as well. Dang it. Today is not my day.
So I printed another one.
Okay, I've got my new 3D print here, ready. I almost didn't film this because I was like, I don't want to jinx it. I'm just going to trim it a tiny, tiny bit on the inside here. Don't know whether to just give it a good push. Oh, you know what? One of them broke off again. Yep, it snapped again. I'm genuinely thinking that what I might want to do is actually take one of those little teeth off. I bet somebody back there is shouting at me right now saying, do this is the thing to fix it. You can throw it in the comments below so I can see it after I've completed this exercise. I just don't know if like taking off this, you know, 0.5 millimeter all the way around will help. I mean, I guess the good thing is, right, as much as it's frustrating, I can just print another one. That is the beauty of having a 3D printer. I do not, however, want to print another one of these. Oh, I heard something snap. Oh my gosh. It's in! Now the moment of truth to see if it fits properly in the dinosaur head. Yes! Yes. That was a stressful hour and a half.
Phew. But if you thought that was hard, there was far more difficulty to come.
The original design for this, which is great for one eye, does not work terrific for two if I want to use the same servo for multiple things. I'm gonna cut out this bit, mount a servo here, and have that do the left and right of the eyes. And then underneath, I will then manage the eyelids opening and closing. Today, we're going to have an animatronic dinosaur. It's got to happen.
And so for the next 2 hours, I religiously placed each servo and rod to make this.
Ha! Success! I now have, if you can see there, 2 servos, both operating the left and right of the eye, and then 2 servos in the center operating the top eyelids. I'm pleased with this. It seems to be working fine. Left, right, and then open eyelid, close eyelid. Same here. Open eyelid, close eyelid. So that means I just need to put 2 servos in the base to do the other side. I have a spot here and a spot here for them to do that. I think we might be in business. And then I've got to plug it all in and program it. Yeah, just that. For my first time doing this, I have to respect the people that do this. This has been a learning curve for me. And it's all the little, the mechanical parts of using rods, so they don't catch when they go left and right, because it's got to go in both directions. Because the last thing you want to be doing is overdriving your servos and having them burn out. You've got to make sure the mechanics aren't putting undue stress on the motor.
To ensure that I didn't get completely confused with the wiring, I labelled each and every connection so I knew exactly which servo went to which wire.
It's done! Haha! It is done, finally. Now I have to connect it to the computer and check all of these servos are operational.
For this, I'm using a Maestro server controller. You can find a link to this and where to find the software to use it all on my website at creativegeekery.com/Jurassic.
So I have this connected to my little Maestro board here. If I move the controller left or right, it will move this left and right. I am pleased with that. It has taken ages. Now I just need to connect up the other ones and check they're all in the right position, because when obviously I turn the servo on, I may not have put the little arm on the servo in the central position, which is why you can see there's no little nuts, or screws I should say, on the top of any of these at the moment, because I may need to move the position of them.
This was a slightly fiddly, time-consuming exercise. But with patience, I was able to get all of the servo controllers and connected arms configured correctly.
I've adjusted the screw positions so I know when everything's open and closed, so everything's in the default position when it's in the center, pretty much. There's only one bit of animatronics left that I need to do. I don't have enough spaces on that microcontroller to do it, but what I want to do is have the dinosaur kind of shake like it does in the cage in the theme park with an off-center motor. So the motor will sit there connected to the dinosaur. I'll have a bit of give in it, and then as the motor turns, it will move it left to right, and that will happen occasionally. That's the plan. So now we're going to cover this whole thing, in foam clay. What is foam clay, I hear you shout? It is this stuff here, and it has the craziest, weirdest consistency. Look at this. It looks like the kind of stuff that would dribble out of the mouth of an alien in the Aliens franchise. It's a little bit like slime. So the plan is to do a light covering on the whole of this with the foam clay, and then use that to start to build some of the structure and the bumps and humps and lumps. So let's do it, Blue. Let's get on it.
I begin by covering the entire skull surface with the foam clay. After that, I roll small pieces of clay up in individual pieces to create scales and nodules.
I wanted to point out some of the interesting properties of this foam clay. It is really hard to work with. It doesn't work like clay, or like you would expect clay to work. And as you can see, there's this kind of dripping, running kind of look to it. And so what you have to remember is it's going to kind of settle and lose its definition over time. And so what I'm starting to do is add things with slightly more definition. So if you see here, like on the nostrils, that's slightly more definition than I need, and around the edge of the mouth, and here over the eyes. I'm just rolling up little balls of the clay, popping them in all the way along there. And I might actually do a little bit more of that to kind of create scales, or the look of scales. And then I'll go in afterwards with some kind of tool like this and make some more indentations. Okay. I'm blinking because it's very, very late night. I had to keep going because if you don't keep going, this stuff dries, or at least the surface of it does. I am very pleased with the work on this. We actually have a raptor. It's looking awesome. Amazing. I am so exhausted, but so pleased. That is a good, I was going to say day's work, good day and a night's work. It's looking good. It's looking like the pictures.
Apart, of course, from those eyes, which was my next step.
Right, I have to do some clay sculpting of the two raptor eyes, because those eyes are going to need a latex covering to enable the eyes to open and close. What I have got to figure out is how I add the latex piece to the foam clay and make them match. That's something I've not done ever. So I've not done any of this ever. What am I talking about? This is all new to me. You're joining me on this experience of experimenting. Anyway, back to the point, which is this. I'm going to 3D print the eyelids again, so that I can use them as the base for me putting clay on top to sculpt what the eyes will look like. Because I want whatever I'm going to create to fit over the eyes pretty closely. Okay, it printed. Very rough print, but that is good enough for me to do my clay work. I made these 5% smaller than the ones in real life, so I can coat them with something. So what I'm going to do is mount this with hot glue to this piece of wood, and then put clay on top of it.
So I hot glue my rough 3D prints to something solid, and then begin sculpting the eye. I'm using an air drying clay here, so within 24 hours this whole project should be dry.
That was a lot more fun than everything else I've done today. As you can see, my eyelid is dry. I'm going to do a very thin painter over this with latex. I made the relief of it deeper than it should be, so that when I paint the latex over it, the latex will fill some of these holes, but you'll still see the bumps and stuff. And so I'm hoping that just taking the reverse of this and using that straight is going to work. That's the plan. I'm taking some just regular liquid latex, a bit of black paint. I'm going to mix the two together, and then I'm going to use a brush that I don't care is going to get ruined to paint that onto this.
I mix the black paint and latex and paint it liberally over the mold. When it's dry, I remove it using copious amounts of talcum powder to make sure it doesn't stick to itself. And when you put the latex over the eye mechanism, it actually looks like an eyelid. Then I start marking out positions around the eye for a mechanism I hope will hold the latex eye covering on to the head.
There are these magnets I pre-placed, so I'm going to put this in position, and then I'm going to put magnets, literally just drop them on and stick them in position so I know where they need to go. Alright, so there we go. So I've done the first few, and all you do is just take the magnet and then you hold it near there, and there it goes. It just sticks in position. So you're going to do that all the way around this, and then what I do is then cover these with latex, a few layers of which will then help to hold those in position, and then obviously cut off this messy edge. The eyes are mainly completed. It's time to put the first coat of paint on this, and I'm going to put a wash coat. I've mixed up a bit of paint and water, some thicker paint here at the top, waterier stuff down there, and I'm just going to paint this on. And then what I'm going to do is, as I paint, I'm going to rub it off, so I'm leaving stuff just in the crevices. So kind of like this, and put this on over here, and then I'm going to rub it off like that. But then it leaves it in the gaps, so paint it on, and then kind of rub it off. So much fun, I love it. Right, now that base is done, I'm just going in here in these little gaps where I want it darker, and literally just hand painting. And it's just working at it, doing a bit, taking a step back. Is that working the way I want to? Maybe it isn't, maybe it is, and just keep working on it. Because now we put that wash over it, now what we're trying to do is bring out the areas purposefully that we want to bring out, and drop the ones back we don't. Now that the black is done, and I'm going to go over with a green. Now it's going to look a little bit fake to begin with, this green, but it's going to help pull out that colour, because if you look at the original colour for blue, it's kind of like there's actually quite a lot of aqua and other bluey greeny colours mixed in. And what you'll notice I'm doing is I'm just brushing on these highlight pieces here, just to bring out the bumps. What we're trying to do is build up layers of colour here that will result in the final look. And what you'll notice is that this green is kind of sitting on top of that black that we've already done, and depending on the angle and the light, you see it more or less, and that is exactly what we want. I got a bit carried away. I started doing the stripes, the basis of the blue stripes with my airbrush. So let's do a little bit of airbrushing to add some highlights in on the top, and as you can see, heighten this area here. So just got a little airbrush, a little bit of white acrylic paint that I've watered down, and we're gonna go for it. This is looking like blue. That's great. I'm so pleased. I think this head is finished. Now I've got to finish the muzzle and the other bits, but I'm pretty sure that we can put this in situ. So excited. I've been saying that a lot, but it's true. I'm excited. This is flipping awesome. We need to build this, which is, I'm worried going to be more complex than the actual dinosaur. So this is the contraption we're building, and the plan right now is to laser cut this out of multiple pieces of wood. I don't know how well this is going to work out, so we're going to start and we're going to see what happens, and we're going to take it from there. Okay, so cut my first piece. I think I'm going to do 3 of each, and then I'm going to put the 3 together. It's not going to be quite as thick as in the real one, but I think that's probably all I can cope with the time that we have left to do this project.
While I wait for the laser cutting to complete, I start building the stock to hold the dinosaur.
This pipe work needs to go in 2 sections, here and here, kind of like 2 panels. And the particle board needs to be cut to go in there as well, to create the space that the Velociraptor's head will be in, just kind of there in the center.
I'm using standard PVC piping here that you can buy from your local hardware store, and various connectors of different angles to create the entire structure.
So you can see we are making progress here. Now we're gonna have to get a heat gun so we can bend this pipework. So I've never done this before, but I'm making the assumption that we're gonna need to evenly heat this so that it's pliable enough to be bendable. I've cut my 2 backing pieces. Here they are, cut, ready to go. And now I have to put them here and here. Easy. Night is falling, but we are making very good progress. Look at this. It's getting there. It really is getting there.
Meanwhile, work was progressing on my laser cut muzzle that I was filling and sanding. But then, I had a different idea.
One of the things I'm concerned about with the muzzle that I'm building is it's going to distract from this great work that I've done, which I'm very, very pleased with. If you put some kind of tether over its mouth, like this, and it doesn't look very good now, obviously, but the idea being that it's, if you can see that, kind of tethered to this base plate that will be metallicized. I think that'll look pretty cool, and I think that might look a little bit cooler than the kind of metal muzzle. And I'm actually a lot more excited about that.
So, back in the workshop, after almost hitting Esther in the face with the dinosaur, it was time to test the final positioning of where this head was going to go. It was important that I measured and secured the head in position before we finished making this whole thing look real.
I'm changed. I have my painting equipment. It's time to paint the Raptor containment unit. Before I do paint, I should probably give you a few details of what I've been doing here. Some plastic here, greeblies, large size greeblies to make it more interesting, metal plates, various other things. I've got some gutter guards here. I'm really hoping that when there's a light behind this and smoke that it will shine through. You'll notice I've put a glue gun line around here. The idea of that is that when this is painted, get rid of that little thread there. When this is painted, that would hopefully look like a weld. We shall see. We shall see. And then this is the handle, of course, to control shutting this clamp on the Velociraptor's neck. I'm using just a latex-based paint for this. I have done a little bit of sanding from a priming point of view, but as this is not going to get a lot of touching happening to it, it should be fine. It's a few hours later, and it's dry. Look at it. It's looking fantastic. And now is the fun part, because what we get to do is add all those little details that make it look super cool. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pen, which is a silver pen, and I'm going to start doing some highlights. In fact, I started it already. Some of these corners and edges, as this is supposed to be metal, I'm going in here and I'm adding a little kind of silver edge, so it looks like it's scuffed. I'm also bringing out the screws and the nuts and other edges to make them shine to look a bit more like metal. Nuts and screws, you want to bring those out so they pop, and all it does is just adds a layer of interest to these surfaces that wouldn't be there otherwise. You look at these ones that haven't been done, and then these ones, the comparison is obvious. So I'm just going to keep on it. Take a look. It's really coming together. I'm excited. Look at this. I'm loving the addition of that flashing light, by the way. And this is just, it's a magnetic light. I put this metal plate on here so I can just pop it on like that. And then it casts this beautiful light on the top of the dinosaur. I think it's time to get the chains. The idea is that when this moves, we're gonna get chains rattling and clinking as well. The way they're kind of passing through here makes it look very purposeful. And these, by the way, just plastic corners, when we got something delivered, they were just a plastic edging on it to stop it from getting broken. I think it might have been some doors or something. But those have turned out beautifully.
Now was the moment of truth for my slightly adjusted muzzle idea. So after securing the leather strap to the base, it was time to see how all of this would come together.
And as if by magic, look at this. The link of this chain fitted perfectly over this. And so that fits now over there, which is great. Look at this. And then I've got the other one coming through there. I think this is turning out to be just what I hoped.
So, with lighting, smoke, and additional props, we were ready to introduce our Raptor to the world as the centerpiece for the introduction of our Jurassic World experience. I'm so proud of how all of this work came together. This just ended up looking incredible. While Celeste provided medical care for the Raptor in containment, Max and I introduced the whole experience to each group of participants. You can watch the full experience right here by clicking on this link. Be prepared for thrills, scares, and everything you've come to know from the Jurassic Park series.
What do you think?